Headway 5th edition, Advanced Students Book. Class audio by Liz and John Soares and Paul Hancock. Published and copyright Oxford University Press 2019. CD1. 1.1. The Reunion.
Hey, Bridget! Hey, how was your school reunion? Wasn't that last weekend?
Yeah, it was good. Well, it was okay. Only that I didn't recognise quite a lot of the people and...
Oh, well, has been nearly 15 years.
Yeah, I know. And boy, do some people change. I'd find myself talking to someone who obviously knew who I was, and I hadn't a clue who they were.
And I don't suppose you could have asked.
Well, no, how rude would that have been? Oh, but I did recognise Judith.
Oh.
The dreaded, jolly Judith. She hasn't changed at all, unfortunately. I tried to avoid her, but she sought me out.
So
I'm like, hello, Judith, how are you? Oh, big mistake, because then, of course, I get it from her. Every detail of the last 15 years. Her ups and downs, her 2 failed marriages. Oh, no surprise there. Her fabulous third husband, the operation on her sinuses, the time she was made redundant, etc., etc. Go on, quiz me about Judith. I could write her biography.
I bet you promised to keep in touch, though.
Well, you have to, don't you?
You hypocrite.
Oh, but I managed to get away before giving my email address or mobile number.
Oh, well done.
Yeah. Hey, did you get the group photo I texted?
Yeah, I did, but I could only identify you. Oh, and Brendan. He looked good. Tall, handsome as ever, but a bit weary. You all look pretty fed up, to be honest.
Well, that's because we got the poor waiter to take our picture, and everyone kept giving him their phone or camera. And by the time it got to mine, well, we were all looking a bit glum.
Doesn't sound like a great success, this reunion.
Oh, it was fine, really. I mean, most people were lovely, but do you know the worst thing?
No, what?
Well, when I got to the station to catch the train home, who came gushing up to me on the platform? Oh, how lovely! We can travel back together.
Oh, no, not Judith.
Yeah, you got it in one. And after I'd spent an age saying a polite goodbye to her. Can you believe it?
1.2. Expressions with reflexives. 1.
He really fancies himself. He thinks all women fall for his charm.
2.
Honestly, just listen to yourself. You never stop moaning.
3.
Don't put yourself down. Believe in yourself.
4.
Look after yourself. You've been looking a bit peaky recently.
5.
I could kick myself. I didn't get her phone number.
6.
Think for yourself. You don't have to agree with everything he says.
7.
Please yourself. You never listen to my advice anyway.
8.
Just be yourself. Don't try to appear to be something that you're not.
9.
Think of yourself sometimes. You're always putting others first.
10.
Don't flatter yourself. You didn't win because you're the best. Your opponent was rubbish.
1.3. Expressions with reflexives. 1.
You look fabulous in it. It's perfect for you.
I know, but look at the price.
Go on, treat yourself.
Oh, but...
Don't but me. Tell yourself that you deserve it.
OK, then. I'll get it.
2.
You've got to get over it. Move on in your life.
I can't. I think she's starting to realise she's made a big mistake.
Stop deluding yourself. It's over.
I don't know. Maybe I'll just give her a call.
Oh, believe me, you're only making a fool of yourself.
3.
How's it going?
It's a challenge, a real challenge. I'm up planning lessons until midnight most nights.
You must be exhausted. You're going to have to learn to pace yourself or you'll be ill.
I can't. I gave up the prospect of a good job in banking to do this, and I don't want to let myself or the kids down.
Yes, but it's not worth killing yourself. You won't be any use to anyone.
4.
Why did you do it?
Oh, believe me, I keep asking myself the same question.
You knew you'd never be able to pay it back. Now you've got yourself into a right mess.
I know, and I've only got myself to blame.
What now?
I suppose it'll have to be the bank of Mum and Dad.
1.4 The 7 Ages of Man by William Shakespeare.
All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. At first, the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms. Then, the whining schoolboy, with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school. And then the lover, sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honour, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly, with good capon lined, with eye severe, and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances, and so he plays his part. The 6th age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side. His youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice turning again towards childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all, that ends this strange eventful history, is second childishness and mere oblivion, sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything.
1.5 How old are they? 1.
When I'm asked what I do for a living, I often hesitate a moment before answering because I'm never sure how people will react these days. Some just think we're fat cats who make fast, easy money like gamblers. But it's not like that. I work really hard and there's a lot of risk involved, so it's really stressful. I get the 7:05 every morning, and I often don't get back till after 10 at night. And that's not because I'm hanging out with the guys in a bar somewhere. Oh, no. I never get to put the kids to bed. I've faced redundancy loads of times, but I've been lucky so far. We have a huge mortgage, so we both have to work. But at least my wife has a job share. She's a lawyer.
2.
I don't like sleepovers. Everyone else does, but I just start to feel really sad at bedtime without my mum and dad there, and all my friends make fun of me. I don't mind play dates after school or something. Freddie was at mine today and we played Wii Sports until Mum threw us outside into the garden. Stop squabbling, she said. Go get some fresh air and play football for real. But I did beat Freddie at the Wii, whatever he said. He's just a bad loser. Oh, it was freezing outside.
3.
The one I was in closed down. They were lovely there, and I had a door in my room that opened onto the garden. I'd go out on a nice day and walk, with my frame, of course, to a bench under a laburnum tree. I don't even have a nice view from my room here. And the door's so narrow, I can't get my frame through it easily. I asked for new batteries for my hearing aid, and I'm still waiting. They don't have the staff, you see. I stay in my room a lot. I don't like sitting in the lounge with the telly on all the time and people sitting around falling asleep and snoring. I still have a good brain, you see. Some of them out there are away with the fairies.
4.
I get called a nerd. If I'm honest, I do mind a bit, but not too much. Most of my classmates seem to take pride in being underachievers. The thing is, I like good times too, clubbing and stuff, parties when I'm invited. But there's something I really want to aim for. You see, I've had a weekend job for the last couple of years. I've been working at Specsavers, just helping out and stuff, but it's fascinating. It's really the highlight of my week. And so now I've decided I'd like to be an optometrist. Does that sound dull? My friends think so, but I'm dead keen. And I've got a place at Manchester University to study optometry if I get 3 A's. I'm determined to do it. Everyone else hasn't a clue what they want to do, so maybe I'm the lucky one.
1.6. We all get emotional. 1.
I'm absolutely gutted. They were winning 2-0 at half-time and then they went on to lose 3-2.
2.
You mean the world to me. More than words could ever say.
3.
Wow, I'm completely blown away. I've never had such an expensive present.
4.
I'll have to consult my diary. Life's just so hectic at the moment. I'm always so much in demand.
5.
You can tell me. I'm dying to know. I won't breathe a word to anyone.
6.
I totally lost it with that poor guy, but it was the 6th call today. How do they get our numbers?
7.
Oh, yeah, so you run the company now after just a week in the job. Pull the other one.
8.
Thank God you're here. When we couldn't get through to you, we thought you'd had an accident.
9.
He came in the top 2% in the country, so his father and I are thrilled to bits.
10.
It was nothing. Really, nothing. Anybody would have done the same.
11.
Well, I think you did very well to come third. Keep up the good work and you'll win next time.
12.
Oh, come on now, don't make such a fuss. You'll be fine. It's only a graze, hardly bleeding at all.
13.
I'm out of here right now. I don't like the look of that lot on the corner.
14.
What do you mean I'm a couch potato? I go to the gym twice a week.
15.
Could you not keep getting at me in front of our friends? It looks so awful.
1.7. Look at that. 1.
Oh, look at that!
2.
Oh, look at that.
3.
Oh, look at that.
4.
Look at that!
5.
Oh, look at that.
6.
Oh, look at that.
7.
Oh, look at that.
8.
Oh, look at that!
9.
Oh, look at that.
10.
Look at that.
1.8. Writing. A personal profile. Jack Devoy, aged 18.
I am currently a student at Hamsworth School, Birmingham, studying English literature, economics and history. I am a diligent and conscientious student and have attained grade A's in all my subjects in recent exams. I also try to give my utmost to other aspects of school life. I am a school prefect and have acted as a guide at numerous school open evenings. Literature has always played an important role in my life. I feel lucky to have been brought up in a family with a passion for books. I enjoy reading books from a wide range of genres, from Shakespearean comedies such as The Taming of the Shrew, to historical investigations such as Douglas A. Blackman's Slavery by Another Name. I particularly enjoy combining my interest in history with my love of literature, and so have read many historical books, a particular favourite being E.H. Gombrich's A Little History of the World. I often have strong views on any text I read, and this helps me when I come to analyse them for my studies. In addition to my love of reading, I really enjoy drama and acting. This year, in my role as prefect, I ran the Inter-House Drama Competition, where I directed younger students in a short comedy play, Melons at the Parsonage. I look forward to getting involved in any drama groups at university. Outside of school, I have a strong interest in film and theatre. I have seen numerous interesting plays, including The 39 Steps and Warhorse, and I follow the blog of respected film critic Mark Commode, which has given me an insight into the film industry. I would really like to combine my interest in film and theatre with my study of English. Alongside my studies, I feel I could contribute a great deal to university life generally. I am a keen sportsman, and I have represented my school in football, cricket, basketball and athletics. Playing in numerous sports teams has taught me the importance of good teamwork and strong leadership. I would love to continue playing a variety of sports at university. Looking ahead, I would really like to go into a career in the media, either in television and film or journalism. As I have mentioned, I tend to have a strong view on most texts I read, so could envisage myself becoming a literary or film critic. I know that a degree in English literature would be the springboard to success in these fields.
2.1. George Bernard Shaw. The correct facts.
George Bernard Shaw, 1856 to 1950, was an Anglo-Irish playwright. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1925. Shaw's instincts were to refuse this honour, but his wife persuaded him to accept it as a tribute to Ireland. He also won a Hollywood Oscar in 1939 for the film version of his play Pygmalion. He is the only writer to win both awards. He wrote over 60 plays, but Pygmalion is probably his most famous work because in 1956, after his death, it was adapted into the highly successful musical for stage and screen, My Fair Lady. He died, aged 94, after falling off a ladder.
2.2. Act 2, Scene 1.
Well, I think that's the whole show.
It's really amazing. I haven't taken half of it in, you know.
Oh, would you like to go over any of it again?
No, thank you. Not now.
Tired of listening to sounds?
Yes, it's a fearful strain. I rather fancy it myself because I can pronounce 24 distinct vowel sounds, but your 130 beat me. I can't hear a bit of difference between most of them.
Oh, that comes with practice. What's the matter?
A young woman wants to see you, sir.
A young woman? What does she want?
Well, sir, she says you'll be glad to see her when you know what she's come about. She's quite a common girl, sir. Very common indeed. I should have sent her away, only I thought perhaps you wanted her to talk into your machines.
Oh, that's all right, Mrs. Pierce. Has she an interesting accent?
Oh, something dreadful, sir, really. I don't know how you can take an interest in it.
Let's have her up. Show her up, Mrs. Pierce.
Very well, sir. It's not for me to say.
This is rather a bit of luck. I'll show you how I make records. We'll set her talking, and then we'll get her onto the phonograph so that you can turn her on as often as you like with a written transcript before you.
This is the young woman, sir.
Why, this is the girl I jotted down last night. She's no use. Be off with you, I don't want you.
Oh, don't you be so saucy. You ain't heard what I come for yet. Oh, we are proud. He ain't above giving lessons. Not him. I heard him say so. Well, I ain't come here to ask for any compliment. And if my money's not good enough, I can go elsewhere. I'm come to have lessons, I am. And to pay for 'em too, make no mistake.
Well, what is it you want, my girl?
I want to be a lady in a flower shop. But they won't take me unless I can talk more genteel. He said he could teach me. Well, here I am, ready to pay him, not asking any favour, and he treats me as if I was dirt.
What's your name?
Eliza Doolittle.
How much do you propose to pay me for the lessons?
Oh, I know what's right. A lady friend of mine gets French lessons for 18p an hour from a real French gentleman. Well, you wouldn't have the face to ask me the same for teaching me my own language as you would for French, so I won't give more than a shilling. Take it or leave it.
It's almost irresistible. She's so deliciously low, so horribly dirty.
Oh, I ain't dirty. I washed my face and hands before I come, I did.
You're certainly not going to turn her head with flattery, Higgins.
I shall make a duchess of this draggle-tailed gutter snipe.
Oh, wow!
Yes, in 6 months. In 3 if she has a good ear and a quick tongue. I'll take her anywhere and pass her off as anything. We'll start today. Now, this moment. Take her away and clean her, Mrs. Pierce.
Oh.
2.3 Act 2, Scene 2.
Say your alphabet.
I know my alphabet. Do you think I know nothing? I don't need to be taught like a child.
Say your alphabet.
Say it, Miss Doolittle. You will understand presently. Do what he tells you and let him teach you in his own way.
Oh, well, if you put it like that. A, B, C, D.
Stop! Listen to this, Pickering. This is what we pay for as elementary education. This unfortunate animal has been locked up for 9 years in school at our expense to teach her to speak and read the language of Shakespeare and Milton. And the result is A, B, C, D. Say A, B, C, D.
But I'm saying it. A, B, C.
Stop! Say a cup of tea.
Cup of tea.
Put your tongue forward until it squeezes against the top of your lower teeth. Now say cup.
I can't. Cup.
Good. Splendid, Miss Doolittle.
By Jupiter, she's done it at the first shot. Pickering, we shall make a duchess of her. Now, do you think you could possibly say tea? Not tea, mind. If you ever say B, C, D again, you shall be dragged around the room 3 times by the hair of your head. Tea, 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 tea.
I can't hear no difference, except that it sounds more genteel-like when you say it.
Well, if you can hear that difference, what the devil are you crying for? Pickering, give her a chocolate.
No. Never mind crying a little, Miss Doolittle. You are doing very well. And the lessons won't hurt. I promise you I won't let him drag you round the room by your hair. Be off with you to Mrs. Pierce and tell her about it. Think about it. Try to do it by yourself and keep your tongue well forward in your mouth instead of trying to roll it up and swallow it. Another lesson at 4:30 this afternoon. Away with you.
2.4 Act 3, Scene 1.
How do you do, Mrs. Higgins? Mr. Higgins told me I might come.
Quite right. I'm very glad indeed to see you.
How do you do, Miss Doolittle?
Colonel Pickering, is it not?
I feel sure we have met before, Miss Doolittle. I remember your eyes.
How do you do?
My daughter, Clara.
How do you do?
How do you do?
I've certainly had the pleasure.
My son, Freddie.
How do you do?
Will it rain, do you think?
The shallow depression in the west of these islands is likely to move slowly in an easterly direction. There are no indications of any great change in the barometrical situation.
How awfully funny.
What is wrong with that, young man? I bet I got it right.
Killing.
I'm sure I hope it won't turn cold. There's so much influenza about. It runs right through our whole family regularly every spring.
My aunt died of influenza, so they said. But it's my belief they done the old woman in.
Done her in?
Yes, Lord love you. Why should she die of influenza? She come through diphtheria right enough the year before. I saw her with my own eyes. Fairly blue with it she was. They all thought she was dead. But my father, he kept ladling gin down her throat till she came to so sudden that she bit the bowl off the spoon.
Dear me.
What call would a woman with that strength in her have to die of influenza? What become of her new straw hat that should have come to me? Somebody pinched it. And what I say is, them as pinched it done her in.
What does doing her in mean?
Oh, that's the new small talk. To do a person in means to kill them.
You surely don't believe that your aunt was killed?
Do I not? Them she lived with would have killed her for a hat pin, let alone a hat.
But it can't have been right for your father to pour spirits down her throat like that. It might have killed her.
Not her. Gin was mother's milk to her. Besides, he'd poured so much down his own throat that he knew the good of it.
Do you mean that he drank?
Drank? My word, something chronic.
How dreadful for you.
Not a bit. It never did him no harm, what I could see, and always more agreeable when he had a drop in. When he was out of work, my mother used to give him 4p and tell him to go out and not come back until he drunk himself cheerful and loving like. There's lots of women has to make their husbands drunk to make them fit to live with. Here, what are you sniggering at?
The new small talk. You do it so awfully well.
Have I said anything I oughtn't?
Not at all, Miss Doolittle.
Well, that's a mercy anyhow. What I always say is... Well, I must go. So pleased to have met you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Colonel Pickering.
Goodbye, Miss Doolittle.
Goodbye, all.
Are you walking across the park, Miss Doolittle? If so...
Walk? Not bloody likely. I'm going in a taxi.
2.5 Adverb collocations. 1.
Poor Eliza was shabbily dressed in a tatty old coat and hat.
2.
The return of the actor Daniel Craig to the London stage is eagerly awaited.
3.
She was bitterly disappointed when she didn't get the part.
4.
I work with a highly motivated sales team. We all work hard.
5.
It's virtually impossible to get seats for the match with Chelsea.
6.
I desperately need a holiday. I haven't had a break for 3 years.
7.
Bad weather has severely affected the roads this weekend. Driving conditions are treacherous.
8.
Don't you get it? It's blindingly obvious that he's in love with you.
9.
I hate this cold climate. I'm sorely tempted to emigrate.
10.
I distinctly remember telling you not to phone me after 10 o'clock.
11.
2 people survived the crash with serious injuries, but unfortunately, 1 man was fatally injured.
12.
I've made my views on the subject of politicians perfectly clear. I don't trust any of them.
2.6. Adjective order. 1.
You must have some breakfast. You'll be starving by lunchtime.
I have had breakfast. I had some delicious brown wholemeal bread with honey.
2.
There's been a break-in at the National Gallery.
Did they get much?
I don't think so. It just says here, thieves stole a priceless 19th century impressionist painting, but it doesn't say which one.
3.
Whoa, did you see what happened to Camilla?
No, I didn't. What happened to dear Camilla?
Well, she was wearing some divine white crop designer jeans, and the waiter spilt red wine all over them. She was absolutely livid.
I bet.
4.
Don't you think it's time we got a new car? This one's clapped out.
Listen, I like my little old second-hand Mini, and it's not clapped out yet.
5.
You look wet and cold.
Well, we went on an exhausting 6-mile coastal walk in the rain. Worth it, though. The views were stunning.
My idea of hell.
6.
How come you turned him down?
Where do I begin? First off, he smokes revolting, fat, smelly Havana cigars. Need I say more?
7.
I've never heard of Philippa Gregory.
Really? She's just written a great new historical novel, and loads of her stuff is adapted for TV.
I guess historical novels just aren't my kind of thing.
8.
Did you go round to meet the new neighbours?
I did. They're settling in well. They've just bought an amazing, massive HD TV. It almost fills one wall, and it turns itself on when you speak to it.
What? How on earth does it do that?
2.7. Jemima J. by Jane Green. Chapter 1.
God, I wish I were thin. I wish I were thin, gorgeous, and could get any man I want. You probably think I'm crazy. I mean, here I am, sitting at work on my own with a massive double-decker club sandwich in front of me. But I'm allowed to dream, aren't I? Half an hour to go of my lunch break. I finish my sandwich and look furtively around the office to see whether anyone is looking. It's okay. The coast is clear. So I can pull open my top drawer and sneak out the slab of chocolate. Another day in my humdrum life. But it shouldn't be humdrum. I'm a journalist, for God's sake. Surely that's a glamorous existence. I love the English language, playing with words. But sadly my talents are wasted here at the Kilburn Herald. I hate this job. When I meet new people and they ask what I do for a living, I hold my head up high and say, I'm a journalist. I then try to change the subject. The inevitable question after that is, who do you work for? I hang my head low, mumble the Kilburn Herald, and confess that I do the top tips column. Every week I'm flooded with mail from sad and lonely people in Kilburn with nothing better to do than write in with questions like, what's the best way to bleach a white marbled lino floor? And I have a pair of silver candlesticks. The silver is now tarnished. Any suggestions? And every week I sit for hours on the phone ringing lino manufacturers, silver makers, and ask them for the answers. This is my form of journalism. Ben Williams is the deputy news editor. Tall and handsome. He is also the office Lothario. Ben Williams is secretly fancied by every woman at the Kilburn Herald, not to mention the woman in the sandwich bar who follows his stride longingly as he walks past every lunchtime. Ben Williams is gorgeous. His light brown hair is casually hanging over his left eye, his eyebrows perfectly arched, his dimples when he smiles in exactly the right place. He is the perfect combination of handsome hunk and vulnerable little boy.
2.8 Expressions with word. 1.
We couldn't help laughing. It was too funny for words.
I know, but it was her worst nightmare, wearing the same dress as someone else at a posh do like that.
2.
I think he's boring. He has nothing to say for himself.
He may be a man of few words, but I think he's worth listening to.
3.
Pam just prattles on, usually about herself. You can't get a word in edgeways.
I know. I thought she'd never shut up.
4.
Come on. You know you can trust me.
What? Trust you again? You're kidding. You don't know the meaning of the word.
5.
I've got the latest Apple iPad Air. It's the last word in tablets. I love it.
Lucky you. You always have the latest thing.
6.
No, I don't want anything for it. I don't need 2 computers. You can have it.
That's so kind of you. I'm lost for words. I can't thank you enough.
7.
Well, not to mince my words, I don't think you stand a chance of getting that job.
Huh. Thanks for your vote of confidence.
8.
You said I had no chance. Well, you'll have to eat your words. I got the job.
You didn't. More fool me. You must be cleverer than I thought.
9.
I reckon selfie is the latest buzzword. It's even in the Oxford Dictionary now.
Yeah, I can believe it. Everybody's taking selfies. I've just bought a selfie stick.
10.
This is just between you and me. Don't breathe a word to anyone else.
I won't tell a soul. I promise.
3.1 World Watch Quiz. 1.
UN experts estimate that the total number of children in the world will remain at around 2 billion throughout this century. After a long period of constant increase, this peak level was reached at the end of the 20th century, as the average global fertility rate dropped from 5 babies per woman in 1950 to 2.5 in 2000.
2.
Tragically, 7 million of the 135 million children born each year die before the age of 5. But the good news is that this is a huge drop to 1 in 20. This will not cause faster population growth, as women are more likely to limit the size of their families when child mortality drops.
3.
The average life expectancy globally is 70 years. As recently as 50 years ago, it was 60, and most of the longer lives were being lived in developed countries. Today, the average of 70 years applies to the majority of the world's population.
4.
Today, 80% of adults in the world are literate. The biggest recent improvements in education have taken place for girls. In poorer countries such as Bangladesh, there are now as many girls attending primary and secondary schools as boys.
5.
A family in extreme poverty cannot be sure of having enough food to eat on a daily basis. Figures from the World Bank show that the number of people living in extreme poverty has fallen from 2 billion in 1980 to just over 1 billion today.
6.
In surveys over recent decades, self-assessment of where people feel they are on the happiness scale has resulted in slightly lower scores than half a century ago, despite significant increases in living standards.
7.
During the first 12 years of this century, the average level of debt per adult increased by 45%. In some countries, the UK, for example, it doubled.
8.
The richest 10% in the world own 86% of global wealth. At the top of the pyramid, the concentration of wealth increases further, with the top 1% owning just over 50% of global assets.
3.2 Limits to Growth. Part 1.
Hello, welcome again to Money Matters. Now, we've had a few emails from listeners asking us to discuss the topic of economic growth. Margaret Bentley from Surrey writes, "It's disappointing to hear the economy has grown less than expected. But why do economies need to keep on growing?" And David Adams from Newcastle says, "Politicians are always promising to get the economy back to normal growth rates. But surely our economy can't carry on growing forever." Well, I'm pleased to say we've got two people in today who are well placed to discuss this issue. Tony Adams is head of the Centre for Economic Policy.
Hello.
And Helen Armitage works for a think tank called Alternative Economies.
Hello.
Tony, can you make the case for economic growth?
Well, basically just to maintain current living standards, the economy has to grow as fast as the population.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't keep up, there isn't enough work for everyone, and that means rising unemployment. But we want to keep improving living standards, not just maintain them, especially for the poorest in society. And the only way we can lift people out of poverty is through economic growth.
That's not strictly true, though, is it? Politicians want economic growth because it allows them to say they'll make the poor richer without having to make the rich any poorer. Without economic growth, we have to start looking at the issue of income redistribution, letting the poor have a bigger slice of the cake. Of course, the people at the top are keen to avoid that, so they just keep trying to make the cake bigger and bigger.
Right. Would you agree that growth is a way to avoid doing anything about inequality, Tony?
Well, of course we need to avoid wealth redistribution if it means higher taxes on the rich. That reduces their motivation to invest, and so the economy then grows even less.
Mm-hmm.
We need to give everyone in society the opportunity to be better off, and that's what economic growth makes possible.
Isn't that true, Helen? That growth keeps everyone happy?
You mean a rising tide lifts all boats? That's such a familiar idea, along with the famous trickle-down effect. But growth in recent decades hasn't reduced inequality. It's made it worse. Statistics show that the poorest in society haven't benefited. The tide seems to have lifted only the big yachts, not all the boats.
Well, it certainly made a huge difference in developing countries. The gap between rich and poor countries is much smaller than it used to be. Most of the world's population now live in middle-income countries.
Yes, but the inequality within countries has continued to increase. And anyway, it's Wrong to assume that economic growth automatically leads to greater happiness. That may be true for the very poor. When you really don't have enough, more is definitely good. But overall, we've seen our economies grow 24 times bigger in the last century, and we're beginning to realise it hasn't made us that much happier. Studies show that at a certain level of income, the connection between more income and greater happiness disappears.
Yes, I've heard that. And it starts to happen at a surprisingly modest level of income, too.
But you're arguing against basic human psychology here. People always want more. They always have, they always will.
Yes.
Huh? You see lots of relatively well-off people doing the lottery. Why's that?
Because they can't help thinking that buying more stuff will make them feel happier. It's what our society encourages us to believe. Just look at all the adverts on TV. But if we stop to think about what gives us greatest fulfilment, does it always involve consumption? If you want to see what really makes you feel happier, go for a long walk in the countryside with a friend. Try watching a sunset one day this week. Organise a ball game with some friends in the park.
Yeah, it all sounds very nice, but people won't stop wanting to buy more gadgets that will make their lives easier and more fun.
Do gadgets really do that, though?
3.3 Limits to Growth. Part 2.
So, Helen, are you saying that we need to have less growth or no growth at all?
Well, the idea of endless economic growth is obviously a delusion. Economic growth of 2.5% a year sounds modest, but it means that GDP has to double every 30 years or so. You can't keep doing that forever. It's common sense.
Common sense told us we couldn't carry on growing as much as we have in the last 50 years. That's because we couldn't have predicted the technological advances that have made it possible. And who knows what technology we might develop in the future.
And you think, Tony, that will solve the problem of limited resources?
Well, yes, I do. We keep finding ways to use energy and resources more efficiently. Refrigerators now use half the energy they did 35 years ago. Family cars use half the fuel they did in the 1970s.
Fine, but we can't expect to keep making such huge improvements in efficiency. Our resources will remain limited, and that makes the idea of eternal growth a form of insanity. Look at those images of the Earth from space, and it becomes blindingly obvious. The last year that the global economy was at a level the planet could support was 1983. We're now exceeding that capacity by more than 30%.
Yeah, well, I remain an optimist. What's the alternative? No growth means more unemployment and less social spending because of lower tax revenues. And if the environment needs protecting, no growth means having less money to spend on doing that.
Yes. Well, perhaps you should say something about the alternative, Helen.
Oh.
The alternative is the steady-state economy. And even the great-grandfather of capitalism, Adam Smith, talked about it. He thought that once everyone had reached a reasonable standard of living, our economies would stop growing and reach a steady state. He assumed people would then prefer to spend more of their time on non-economic activities, things like art and leisure and child-rearing.
Yeah, well, good luck with that. It's the happily unemployed fantasy. Fine until you need some money to do something nice with your family.
No, it doesn't mean being unemployed. There would be less work available, but it can be shared out, so we all do fewer hours a week. And as I said, the extra time can bring us much greater happiness.
But people would have much less income.
Yes, but that's not such a problem if people accept they'll have to consume a lot less anyway. We could still buy new stuff, but we'd have to get used to buying a lot less of it and keeping it for longer. It means getting things repaired more instead of throwing them away and getting a new one. That's the way we used to live not so very long ago.
Well, I just can't see it, personally.
Well, I can, so maybe I'm the optimist. And I think it's interesting to ask ourselves what we really want from life. Why are we hooked on producing and buying so much needless stuff? Why do we fill our lives with so much work that we don't have time to enjoy them? It's not as if we ever meant to create such a stressful way of life. So now's the time to look at doing things differently.
You see managing without economic growth as a positive challenge, then?
Yes. We can't go back to the growth rates of recent decades, but it needn't be a depressing prospect. Exploring the alternatives can be exciting. We just need to give up the idea that consumerism is the central purpose of life.
Well, thank you both. That is definitely an issue that isn't going to go away.
3.4. Spending on new cars.
Spending on new cars rises sharply when people are in their 20s and presumably starting work. There's then a slight fall until midlife, when there is a steady increase in people in their 40s and 50s buying new cars, perhaps men having their midlife crisis. Spending then drops back again to level off for 70-year-olds, before plunging sharply after people turn 80, when people are probably not so bothered about what they drive, if they're still driving at all.
3.5. The popularity of the name Maria.
The name Maria was reasonably popular in the 1880s, with just under 1,000 babies per million being given it. In the 1890s, its popularity rose steadily to just below 1,500. And between the 1900s and 1920s, it soared to over 2,500, before dropping again to around 2,000 in 1940. The popularity of the name fluctuated over the next 5 decades, going up to 2,800 in 1960 and dropping again to 2,000 in 1980. There was then a sharp increase, up to over 3,000 between 1980 and 1990. There was a slight decrease to 3,000 during the 1990s, and the number of babies given the name Maria then plunged back to 2,000 by the end of the first decade of the 21st century. It is currently ranked as the 92nd most popular name for girls.
3.6. Phrasal verbs with up and down. 1.
This music's great, isn't it?
Turn it up. I can't hear it.
2.
Kids, quieten down.
Oh, Jeff, let them be. They're just letting off steam.
3.
Why aren't you going out much these days?
I need to save up for a car.
4.
What's happened since your company got taken over?
They've cut down my hours.
5.
Speed up. It's a 70-mile-an-hour zone.
It isn't. You can only do 60 on this road.
6.
Slow down. My legs are tired.
We'll never get to the youth hostel before dark if we don't get a move on.
3.7. Phrasal verbs with up and down. 1.
What will you do if you get made redundant?
I'll set up my own business.
2.
What happened after the scandal broke?
The president stood down.
3.
It's such a lovely day. What shall we do this afternoon?
Let's fire up the barbecue.
4.
What effect did it have on you, having to spend so much time abroad?
My marriage broke down.
5.
My laptop's so slow to boot up.
Try uninstalling programs that you never use.
6.
The chemists shut down.
I'm not surprised. It always seemed empty.
I'm not talking to you until you say sorry.
Oh, grow up and stop acting like a child.
2.
I don't know why Diana hasn't replied to any of my texts this week.
Oh, you need to wake up and smell the coffee. It's obvious she isn't interested in you anymore.
3.
I've been ill, but I couldn't take much time off work.
You do look a bit run down.
4.
Thank you all for coming in your lunch break. I want to talk to you about the...
Speak up! We can't hear at the back.
5.
I'm going to lose again. It's so depressing.
Oh, lighten up, will you? It's just a game.
6.
How did you manage to drop my tablet? Oh no, the screen is all cracked.
Calm down, I'll pay for the repair.
7.
Have you worked out what 4 across is? It's one of the best crossword clues ever.
It's too difficult. I give up. What's the answer?
8.
You promised you would get this report done by today.
I know. I'm sorry. I've let you down.
9.
I just don't want to confront her about it. I'm scared of her.
Man up, Tim, and stop being a wimp.
10.
Have you heard the company's been taken over? No one seems to think it will change anything much.
The management's playing it down, but it is bad news.
3.9. Workplace jargon. 1.
Going forward, we're hoping to grow the business by at least 10% over the next year.
2.
Jenny, can I task you with actioning all the points we've agreed in this meeting?
3.
This research phase is going to be mission critical on this project, so I want to make sure that everyone is following best practice.
4.
Supporting these charities will impact our tax situation positively and also get us some great publicity. It's a win-win situation.
3.10. Buzzword bingo. OK, I thought I'd touch base and bring you up to speed on our bid to win the Delco advertising campaign. I know this is on all your radars, and as you know, this is mission critical in terms of our attempt to grow the business this year. If we're proactive on this one, and our bid is successful, it will impact our public profile in a big way and bring us serious bonuses. A win-win situation. I'm pleased to see that Jeff's team have hit the ground running on this. I don't want to drill down into the ideas they've come up with so far, but let's just say they're certainly thinking outside the box, and I know Jeff will go the extra mile to get this contract. If any of you decide you've got something to bring to the table on this, give me a heads up, and I'll task you to action any good ideas you come up with. Going forward, we need to apply best practice throughout this bid, and if there are any new developments, you can be sure I'll keep you all in the loop. Danny, you don't look well. Are you feeling okay? 3.11. Sarah and Danny.
It's the macho action hero ones that get on my nerves most. Don't worry, it's on my radar. Actually, no, you don't have a radar because you're not a fighter pilot. And the upcoming presentation at the sales conference isn't really a potentially mortal threat. And before you tell me this is mission critical, we sell photocopier paper and don't tend to go on many missions. There seems to be a desire to be associated with the heavy engineering boys too. My boss has started asking me to drill down when he wants me to give him more information on something. And growing the business has become incredibly common, but it still sounds odd to me. I can only think of vegetables when someone talks about growing things.
Hit the ground running is all right, though. I quite like that image because it's great when it does feel like that when you start a new project. And go the extra mile is something I often do for my customers, and I'm fine with it being described like that. Things like that and bring you up to speed sound like perfectly normal language to me. The danger with all of them is that if you hear someone say exactly the same thing many, many times, you switch off.
I can't stand all this verbing of nouns. Could you action this for me? As if, could you do this for me doesn't sound impressive enough. At least it's short, though. The ones that use an excessive number of words annoy me most. I'll keep you in the loop. Why not just keep you informed? Going forward is redundant most of the time, or you could just say in future. The only reason for using all this gobbledygook is the pathetic idea that it makes you sound like some high-flying managerial hotshot, but it can actually make you sound like a moron if you use too much of it. Some of the shorter ones can be useful. Best practice means what it says and is neat, and proactive is a good thing to be in business. I think a win-win situation has a really good feel to it, and I'm actually okay with think outside the box, because in itself it means something that I really like to do. It's just been overused so much, and the kind of person who uses it is usually stuck inside a box labelled, I copy what everyone else says.
4.1 Karen's story.
Hey, Beth. You won't believe what happened in my jewellery shop this morning.
What?
We had a woman in buying a diamond necklace and Jenny, the other assistant, was serving her. And when she was paying for it, this bloke, who I thought was just another customer, but I have to say, I had noticed he was behaving a bit oddly, well, he turned out to be a policeman and arrested her for using counterfeit money.
Whoa! Slow down. You've lost me. The woman was a customer?
Yeah. And there were two men in the shop who were actually plainclothes policemen. They'd been following her because she was part of a gang they'd been trailing for weeks. They were all buying stuff with counterfeit money, so they arrested her when she was paying with it.
Wow, that's all a bit dramatic. So was it a really expensive necklace?
It was about $4,000.
And didn't anyone think that was a lot to pay in cash?
Well, it's not that unusual in a jeweller's. And the police said the fake money was really convincing, so we probably wouldn't have spotted it.
So what's happened to the woman?
They've taken her down to the police station. They said they'd be back in a couple of hours to get full statements and bring the necklace back. They had to take that as evidence.
Gosh, I know you shouldn't say it, but it is kind of exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It wouldn't have been exciting if she'd got away with it, though. I'm not sure my manager would have been very understanding if he'd found out we'd been taken in.
4.2 Karen's update.
Oh, Beth, I'm so upset.
What's wrong?
Oh, you know I said those policemen were coming back to the shop with the necklace?
Yeah?
Well, they never did. It turns out the whole thing was a scam.
What? I don't understand.
They weren't really policemen. They were all part of a gang. The two men and the woman.
So, what? No, I don't understand. They took their own counterfeit money?
The money wasn't the point. They wanted the necklace. And I told you, they said they had to take it as evidence.
Oh, I get it. Oh, that's awful. And clever. I guess you were so grateful when they told you they were policemen and what they were doing, you were hardly going to question them. Did you not ask for their ID, though?
We didn't need to. They held it up when they arrested the woman, but they must have been fake police badges. They can't have been difficult for them to make if they were forgers. Though, apparently, they hadn't forged the money. It was real.
Oh, no. And you weren't suspicious when they said they had to take the necklace with them?
Well, no. I guess Jenny and I were a bit, well, in shock, really. I am kicking myself about that now, though. I mean, why would they have needed to take it away as evidence?
Oh, don't beat yourself up about it. I'd have fallen for it, I know. So, what now? The real police are looking for all three of them, I suppose.
Yeah, and they're trying to get statements from any eyewitnesses. We've got some security camera footage, but apparently one of the cameras wasn't working properly. Oh, what a horrible, horrible day.
4.3 Professor Loftus's work on eyewitness evidence.
Professor Loftus's work on eyewitness evidence. Up until the 1970s, courts would often convict people of serious crimes purely on the basis of eyewitness evidence. Defense lawyers would try to argue that a witness might be mistaken on some of the details in their statement. But if the witness wouldn't accept this, the jury would usually believe them and assume the suspect was guilty. Then, psychology professor Elizabeth Loftus began her work on the unreliability of memory and witness accounts. It showed that we shouldn't think of memory as an accurate and permanent record that we play back repeatedly. We will often change our memories by filling in new details about what must have happened, even though we didn't actually notice those details at the time. Professor Loftus was also able to show how much the memories of eyewitnesses can be influenced by the questions they are asked. For example, what colour hat was the man wearing? Encourages a witness to remember that the man was wearing a hat, when in fact he wasn't. These are known as leading questions because they lead people to remember events in a certain way. Even the choice of words used in questions can be critical. Witnesses who are asked what speed two cars were going when they smashed into each other all gave higher speeds than those who were asked the speed when the cars hit each other. Professor Loftus's work has led to restrictions on the use of eyewitness evidence. Suspects have the right to ask if they can speak to a lawyer before being interviewed. Police interviewers now have to follow strict guidelines and mustn't ask leading questions. Judges will often remind juries of the unreliability of eyewitness testimonies. However, they are still the leading cause of convictions that are later proven to be wrong.
4.4 Expressions with modals. 1.
It's just a small gift to show how much I appreciate your help.
Oh, thanks. That's very thoughtful of you. But you really shouldn't have.
2.
I could have sworn I left the car here.
Well, I hope you're wrong. Otherwise, someone must have stolen it.
3.
Was Jake's party good?
It was okay. I got all dressed up, but I needn't have bothered. No one else had made an effort.
4.
Jenny will keep going on about my age.
I think she's just worried that you're trying to do too much.
5.
You might want to check your shirt's buttoned up properly.
Oh, no, thanks. Oh, how embarrassing. I got dressed in a rush this morning.
6.
Oh, you can be so insensitive sometimes.
Me? Insensitive? You can talk. You were the one who asked them why they'd paid so much for the house.
7.
Must you whistle all the time?
Oh, sorry. I didn't realise I was doing it.
8.
And who might you be?
I'm the new cleaner. Is it okay to do your office now?
9.
I want to apologise for the way I behaved.
I should think so too. It was appalling what you did.
10.
Derek said the economic crash wasn't at all predictable.
Well, he would say that, wouldn't he? He works for one of the banks that needed bailing out.
4.5 When Arthur Met Harry.
And now the second part of our serialisation of unexpected friendships. Chris Blackwell reads an extract telling of the unlikely friendship of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and Harry Houdini.
They seemed an unlikely couple, the 6'1" British doctor and author and the 5'6" poorly educated American immigrant. But when Conan Doyle met Harry Houdini in 1920, they were immediately attracted to each other. Houdini had ambitions to be a writer himself and was eager to mix with the literary elite. He was also intrigued to meet a highly intelligent man who believed in the supernatural. Doyle was convinced that Houdini's amazing talents could offer proof of supernatural powers, and was keen to make use of Houdini's fame and popularity to publicize spiritualism. Conan Doyle talked to Houdini about his own experiences of the supernatural, claiming to have spoken to his dead son on 6 occasions. Houdini showed great interest and was enthusiastic about the possibility of Doyle finding him a true medium, telling him,
"I am very, very anxious to have a séance with any medium with whom you could gain me an audience. I promise to go there with my mind absolutely clear and willing to believe."
But Houdini soon saw that the mediums Doyle introduced him to were simply using tricks to give the impression of communicating with spirits, the same tricks that he used in his own acts. Tactfully, he chose not to offend Doyle by exposing these mediums as fakes, saying on one occasion,
"I am afraid that I cannot say that all their work was accomplished by the spirits."
Doyle was always confused as to why Houdini needed convincing of the supernatural, and asked him,
"My dear chap, why go around the world seeking a demonstration of the occult when you are giving one all the time?"
In 1922, Doyle visited the U.S. to give a lecture tour on life after death. He attracted huge audiences, and there was a sensation when newspaper reports of his New York lectures resulted in a number of suicides. It seemed that readers had found his accounts of the next world all too convincing, and were keen to experience it as soon as possible. Houdini decided to try and show Doyle that supernatural phenomena were not all they seemed, and arranged a private demonstration. Houdini performed an amazing trick in which a message that Doyle had written down in secret was written on a slate by a ball soaked in ink. No one was touching the ball. It seemed to be moved by an invisible hand as it wrote the words. Doyle was speechless. Houdini then told him that it had all been done by trickery, and said,
"I beg of you, Sir Arthur, do not jump to the conclusion that certain things you see are necessarily supernatural, or the work of spirits, just because you cannot explain them."
But it was a lost cause. Doyle was convinced that Houdini could only perform such amazing tricks by using psychic abilities, saying,
"It is an outrage against common sense to think otherwise."
He assumed that Houdini had to deny his psychic abilities because he would have been unable to continue as a magician if it was known that he had them. And of course, Houdini couldn't have revealed how he performed his tricks, as it is taboo for any magician to do so. He simply noted with regard to Doyle that,
"I have found that the greater a brain a man has, and the better he is educated, the easier it has been to mystify him."
Doyle was determined to persuade Houdini that not all mediums were fakes, and arranged a séance in which his wife Jean would attempt to contact Houdini's dead mother. Houdini was excited about the possibility and said,
"With a beating heart, I waited, hoping that I might feel once more the presence of my beloved mother."
Jean went into a trance and began to write messages to Houdini, saying that it was his mother speaking directly to him, and that she was simply moving Jean's hand to write the words. When the séance was over, Houdini wrote at the bottom of the page, which was filled with messages written in perfect English,
"My sainted mother could not write English and spoke broken English."
She had always communicated with her son in German. Houdini never thought the Doyles were trying to deceive him, but were simply deluding themselves. However, when Doyle went on to write newspaper articles about the messages that Houdini had received from his mother, it was the final straw. He went public himself about how the whole thing had been a sham, saying,
"It is a pity that a man should, in his old age, do such really stupid things."
And so their unusual friendship came to an end. Houdini dedicated himself to exposing mediums as fakes, while Doyle insisted that Houdini was using his special powers to prevent the mediums performing properly. Doyle was clearly upset and wrote to Houdini,
"As long as you attack what I know to be true, I have no alternative but to attack you in return."
The two men never met again. After Houdini's death, his wife wrote to Doyle, insisting that Houdini had not actually held any ill feelings towards him. She said,
"He was deeply hurt whenever any journalistic arguments arose between you, and would have been the happiest man in the world had he been able to agree with your views on spiritualism. He admired and respected you."
Doyle referred to Houdini as
"the most curious and intriguing character whom I have ever encountered."
4.6 Collocations 1.
I don't think she left him just because he forgot their anniversary.
No, but I think it might have been the final straw.
2.
Dan got back from travelling round Asia 2 months ago, and I think he's already thinking about another trip.
Yeah, he seems to have itchy feet again.
3.
I avoid using my credit card when I'm shopping for clothes. It's difficult to stop once I've started.
Yes, it is a slippery slope.
4.
Is Sue not sure anymore about applying for that job?
No, she's having second thoughts about it.
5.
I can't believe she's going to a faith healer to try and get rid of her headaches. I guess she's tried so many other things.
I think it was a last resort.
6.
I noticed you changed the subject when David started talking to Jane about house prices.
Yes, it's a sore point for her at the moment.
7.
So you don't think it's worth me spending any more money trying to get this car back on the road?
No, I think it's a lost cause.
8.
It's not fair. My sister got to go to New York for her birthday, and I just had a day in London.
Yes, it sounds like you got a raw deal there.
9.
Do you think Suzanne really has a chance of getting into the Royal College of Music? She only started the piano 3 years ago.
No, it's just wishful thinking.
10.
I can never understand the rules about which future tense to use.
To be honest, not many people can. It really is a grey area.
4.7 The Unbelievable Truth.
Your subject, Graham, is doctors, persons trained and qualified to diagnose and treat medical problems. Off you go, Graham.
In 2009, a group of doctors opened a restaurant in Latvia called Hospitalis.
The dining room looked like an operating theatre. The food came on hospital trolleys with drinks in specimen beakers. On request, you could be fed your meal by waitresses dressed as nurses while you wore a straitjacket.
Henning.
Yeah, I believe that story.
You're right to believe it, because it's true. It closed because it was failing hygiene tests. But then, as we know, the hygiene requirements of a restaurant are much, much higher than they are for a hospital.
In the 14th century, Henri de Mondeville believed that causing the patient to weep or scream would remove the cause of their illness, which is where clown therapy began.
Jeremy.
I think the first bit of that is true.
He believed that causing patients to weep or scream was a good idea.
Yeah.
No, he didn't.
No. Okay.
No. But no, this chap, Henri de Mondeville, he was one of the first surgeons to stress the need for a good bedside manner, so very much the opposite of making people weep and scream. He recommended that surgeons should keep each male patient cheery with false letters about the deaths of his enemies, or, if he is a spiritual man, by telling him he has been made a bishop. That's it. That's a way of cheering someone up. Some bad medical news. In other news, you have been made a bishop, so... Graham.
When doctors in Brazil went on strike in 1973, the number of daily deaths dropped by a third.
Henning.
That sounds unfortunately entirely plausible.
It is true, yes. It's believed a factor in the reduced death rate could be the reduction in elective non-emergency surgery caused by the strike. Or, they're doing more harm than good.
Back in the 1860s, one American doctor devised an ingenious way of getting rid of awkward patients. He invented the hand grenade. Doctors...
Victoria.
I'm going to guess that the person that invented the hand grenade was a doctor.
No, he wasn't.
Oh, I'm so bad at this.
No, well, you're
you
not...
told me that Henning always lost and this will be an easy one.
No, the hand grenade wasn't devised by a doctor, but the machine gun was invented by a doctor, Dr. Richard J. Gatling.
Doctors have always been applauded for the elegance and clarity of their handwriting. In a rare exception to the rule, the doctor who recorded the birth of Hollywood hunk Clark Gable was not a master of penmanship. As a result, Clark Gable's birth certificate listed him as female, and his name was deciphered as Joan Crawford.
4.8. Ted and Margaret.
That one's incredible, isn't it, Margaret? She looks so real.
Yes, I was wondering if it might be possible to take a photo of it. Do you think it would be all right?
You might want to ask that attendant first.
Oh, I thought he was one of the exhibits. Excuse me, could I possibly take a photo of that statue?
Oh, we don't allow flash photography.
I thought I might take it without flash. Would that be okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you. Ted, you couldn't take one of me next to it, could you?
Yes, of course. Just move a bit to the left, would you?
4.9. Ways of being polite.
Excuse me, is there any chance I could have a look at your iPad? I was thinking I might buy one of those.
Yes, of course. I'm really happy with it.
Thank you. Do you think I could have a go at typing on it? I was wondering if the keyboard would be big enough for my fingers.
Sure, go ahead. My fingers are quite big and I don't have a problem typing on it.
It's nice. Would you mind telling me how much you paid for it?
£340.
Uh-huh.
You might want to have a look in PC World. They've got a sale on at the moment.
Thanks very much. I think I might do that.
4.10. How polite are these?
Would you mind not putting your feet on the table?
Do you think you could stop interrupting me?
Do me a favour and go, now.
Do you mind?
That's my seat.
4.11. What are the situations? 1.
Excuse me, would you mind speaking more quietly? Excuse me, would you mind speaking more quietly?
2.
Perhaps you'd like to explain this. Perhaps you'd like to explain this?
3.
I'm afraid this isn't good enough. I'm afraid this isn't good enough.
4.
Close the door, will you?
Close the door, will you?
5.
Could you possibly move your car? Could you possibly move your car?
6.
Would you mind not making that noise? Would you mind not making that noise?
4.12. Writing. An apology.
Hi, Peter.
Hey, Martin! Good news. I've finally done it. I popped the question.
You asked Karen to marry you. You said you were going to do it this year, and the answer was obviously a big yes.
Yep. So your stint as best man is coming quite soon.
When's the wedding then?
October the 18th.
Gosh, that's soon. Oh, hang on. That could be a problem. Let me check. Yeah. Sorry, Peter. I can't do that Saturday.
No!
Yes, really. I've got an annual international conference in London that weekend, and I'm booked to give a presentation. Oh, you can't have arranged anything yet. Couldn't you shift the wedding to another weekend in October?
No. We spent ages finding a weekend that worked for both our families to come over. And that really was the only one before the end of the year. Couldn't you ask them to move your presentation to the Sunday?
Not really. It's booked, and it's all in the programmes they've sent out.
They could change that, though. It wouldn't be such a big deal for them.
I can hardly ask them to do that because I want to go to a wedding, though, can I?
Well, think of something else to tell them and ask very, very nicely. Come on. I can hardly get married without you as my best man.
Oh, I don't know.